journey beyond imposter syndrome. This is where I invite you into a space where high achievers and spiritual leaders converge to redefine success and self-worth. By sharing transformative stories and engaging with thought leaders, this podcast serves as a roadmap for navigating the complexities of imposter syndrome. It's an intimate look into overcoming personal barriers tailored for those who value wisdom, leadership, and intuition in business and life. Join me at the Humble Warrior Podcast with Alani Bankhead. Guys, welcome back to the Humble Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Alani Bankhead, fellow terrorist, spy, human trafficking hunter. Now I hunt the terrorists in your mind. And I'm so excited and honored to have Samantha Nivens here on the podcast today. You guys are going to be so blown away by her story. She's a body and life coach who helps you get hot as fuck. She's a 10-year top placing ultra marathoner and 40-year-old mom of two with abs. It sounds like these impossible things have all converged, and yet here we are. We have Samantha in front of us, and I cannot wait to talk to her more about how she achieved this insanely amazing life and what tools and tricks she can share with you guys to help you do the same. So Samantha, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Alani. This is so exciting to be here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm dying to know. Let's just jump right in. How did you get here? What is your story?
Oh my gosh. So I'll start with, before I became an ultra marathon runner, y'all, I actually started smoking at 14 years old. So I had my first cigarette at 14 years old in high school, like freshman year. I was hanging out with the whole wrong crowd. I actually started going to the bars at 17, moved out of school, and yes. So I totally was taking care of myself very much in high school. I had not that upbringing that would be like, oh my God, you've been and now don't get me wrong. I started running young. I was in cross country and soccer. Thank God, because I really feel like being in sports, being an athlete has saved my life and truly allowed me to be the woman I am today. So I did have sports to keep me grounded. But then honestly, most of my 20s, I was lost, figuring stuff out, partied a lot, still smoked until my mid 20s. And that is when literally I read a book called Born to Run. And that book saved my life, changed my life. I'm not even joking. I always like to say it could just be one thing. Somebody listens to this podcast with us today and they pick up one thing, one line, one thought. And that book, I had run a couple marathons at that point, one in my early 20s when I was still smoking, y'all. And then another one, just before I found that book, I had a great running group and I was so curious. I was so what? Our bodies we can do this thing called run. So everybody knows an ultra marathon is technically anything over a full marathon. So a full marathon's 26.2 miles. So an ultra could be 50K, 40 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles. Now people even do 200 miles. So it's this crazy feat with your body and obviously then with your mind to be able to do that. I got obsessed. I read that book over and over. I listened to it in an audiobook and I signed up for my first ultra marathon, the Keys 50 miler in Key West in May. If y'all know anything about the Keys in May, it is hot AF there.
Yeah, no.
I was living in South Florida at the time, and there's stories within there though too of how I even adapted to start running this much and in that heat. So I run my first ultra. I quit smoking because of that, because I had found such purpose and a drive. I was so compelled that I wanted to do so well in these ultras. So that was my first one, and that was all. I was hooked. And I did one later that year in the fall, and then essentially took off and started running ultra marathons over the last 10, actually might have even been 10 years, just over 10 years. And then I hung up my shoes this past fall and quote unquote retired from ultra running because I really felt compelled to build my fattest ass and grow my glutes. I can be real with y'all here, right?
100%. Let's go, girl. Let's go.
So I had thought of this goal early in the year. I just turned 40 this year. So I was 39 and just really feeling like I had done the things in ultra marathon running. It does take time. Like your Sundays are spent a lot of time running and training.
Right.
I just really felt more compelled and started to get called to lifting and building my glutes. And so I finally decided, fuck yes, we're doing this in November of last year. And it was a little, and we can dive into the details of that, but it wasn't just, oh, all of a sudden I'm a lifter. I had started at the beginning of the year to go from 2 days of 30-minute workouts to 2 days of an hour workout. And then I got to that point where I needed some support and help. So I hired my own coach and trainer. We went to 3 days a week, then to 4 days a week. And basically, over the last 6 months, I gained 16 pounds of mostly muscle, mostly in my ass, also all over though. And now I'm a lifter and I started to sprint. And I actually have not run over, I don't even know, I haven't run 3 miles or more since last fall. So I totally did a total pivot and change. And I love lifting now. I love my glutes. I love sprinting, and they're only going to get bigger from here. Yeah. And so that's my athlete, like a little overhaul life. And then I started coaching about 8 years ago, working for Noom that's when I started to find my purpose too, is the ultra marathons really got me into a better space and place and let go of smoking. And I got my master's. I started going for my master's in exercise science and health promotion. And basically at that time, this was like 10 years ago, that it was kind of like you were basically your track was to become like a strength and conditioning coach for a college or a personal trainer. And I can program, but I just never liked programming that much, like actual workouts. I just like to do them. So I know, amen. But my friend had told me about Noom, and it was a startup at the time. I was like coach number 200 there. It was very new, like their first year. So I worked for them for 3 years. And within that first year, I really saw a gap of this isn't doing it for most folks, like a once a week chat and some app. And I've never counted calories and macros to get all the results that I've gotten. I've lost the weight after both my babies seamlessly, no problem. Don't hate me. I will tell you the formula if you want it. And so I lost the weight after my baby. I was working for Noom and just was like, there's a better way. So that's when I started my coaching business, and it has grown and evolved. I've had my own business now for the last 4 years, really evolving it to help women, yeah, live their I just so believe, like, why do we have to be at our late 30s, anytime really, but like mid to late 30s, 40s, even 50s, like, especially for us women, it's like we're fucking done or something is like the MO of the world and the US, or we can't be fucking hot as fuck and be moms, or we have to choose one or the other, a business, our bodies, or our kids. And I'm like, girlfriend, we can have it all. We do it all. And that is what I do and teach my
Oh
clients.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so amazing. There are so many rabbit holes to go down. I cannot, I want to do them all. Let's just start really strategically, okay? Because you have this incredible story. And by the way, smoker to ultra marathoner, like mind is completely blown. But how humble warriors and people that struggle with self-doubt and imposter syndrome often see the end result, right? So they see you with your cute peach and all your accolades and everything, and they're like, there's no way I can get to where she is. Like she's the gap from where they are to where you are is just so far. How did you go from smoker? I know you talked about Born to Run changed your life, but between Born to Run and the ultras and the business and all these amazing things, a lot of things had to happen to get you to this place. But I'm not even hearing that check, like ultra marathoner, oop, check, mom with abs, oop, check. It's more of this is who you are, this is your essence, and you're in this flow state, just hearing you talk through it. And when you're dealing with imposter syndrome, you're usually focused on that end result, and anything that doesn't get you there creates kind of suffering. So, how did you overcome that massive gap? And what would you say to the woman listening right now that's like, there's no way I can be on Samantha's level? Like, she's just a superhuman.
Yeah, I love this question and opening this door because oh, I do. I want so many women to see and men to see like how freaking possible it is. I'm not a unicorn. I truly am not. You can see that from like my smoking, and if you knew my background even more. And what I would say is, I would truly feel this like from my heart and soul. The first thing is you have to find that vision and goal that compels the fuck out of you. That like naturally you start to do the things and you want to do the things. The vision and goal has to be that now. And so you can see even in ultra marathons, I found that because I picked up a book. Like I can't even remember how I heard about the book or whatever. Like I wasn't running circles. But so you have to find a very compelling and even when I shifted to lifting to grow my glutes, I didn't just say I want to lift weights. I want to be stronger. I didn't just say I want to be a runner. I was like, I want to be a fucking ultra runner. That was exciting to me. That was so drawing forward to me that because of that, I was willing. You didn't have to discipline, force me to go do the runs and the workouts. Don't get me wrong, I have good and bad days too, and there's tools for that but overall, it was like, why would I get up and go work out at 4 a.m. I've had many workouts. I have two babes, 9 and 6 year old now. I remember with my second, I had a big goal for a race and never to lose weight, only for races. And I was getting up at 3:45 a.m. on a Sunday to go get my run in so I could come back and nurse my baby at 6:37 a.m. Nobody was forcing me, telling me to do that. It was because I had such a vision and a goal that it compelled me to get up and do the things way more naturally than forcing myself, than disciplining myself, than having, how do I get motivated? So I would really say, find that. What is that for you? And if people are like, okay, I don't know what that is though, Samantha, like how do I find that? I would really offer then read the books, listen to the podcasts. What are your interests that do make you so curious that you're like, maybe there's that thing that people I find a lot of times it's like we're actually denying it. It's in the back of your brain and you're like, you really want that, but you don't want to admit you want to double the size of your ass. You don't want to say that. Like that's not okay for a mom to say that. I want to wear a crop top. That's not okay. Whatever it is, there's probably one hiding back there that you actually do want. You're just not allowing yourself to say out loud and to do. Okay. So it has to be that compelling.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry because this is amazing. And I'm just like, ah. So we're going to peel the layers back a little bit because I definitely heard what you said, especially when you talked about I was a smoker and then I quit smoking because I found that purpose. So the purpose was much bigger than the addiction. It was much bigger than the comfort. But what was it specifically? So, like, you're reading this book, Born to Run, and I want to highlight to folks that something you said also was you read the book multiple times, physical, audio. So it was a process to undo this old wiring of the smoking and reinvest that energy into creating this new thing. But what was it? Because you could have dropped smoking and picked up picking garbage on the side of the road or helping homeless people or something. But you chose running because, and I can feel energetically, it's like there was something inside of you that said, you were made for more. But tell me a little bit more about that voice and what was it actually saying to you that said, don't pick up the cigarette, pick up the book instead, or go for a run? Like, what was that internal monologue like?
Yeah, I think that was just really I am meant for more. And I think I think the habit just came from the habit of it because I'd been doing it for so long and it was 10 years. Like I'd started so young. And my friends, like friends that I had hung, like the guys that I had dated, I think at the time was like a smoker and friends. And no, this is where it also gets interesting, like to start to get away from that. I was in a running group. I did also have a healthy, positive social circle. So notice I was also like balancing that, right? I actually had friends
Yeah.
that hung out and drank, and then I had the like healthy group and it was like I started to slowly bridge that gap and go more and more here, especially once I read Born to Run. But yeah, I think I just remember being fascinated. Like I've always been like, what could the body really do? And what could we as humans really do? And that's one of my things is I think whatever is on our heart and head, whether when it came to me on that day, it didn't come to me a year before, that before, but I believe there's so much possibility for all of us that we're like at the very bottom of our potential, truly. And we have so much more. And once you fill that up, guess what? You can get to do it again all over again as that new version of yourself. I just think truly like it's possible. And that is like, I remember was like, if somebody else could do this, I could do this. And I really just love the idea of breaking our fucking brains and our bodies to see what's possible. Oh, and then once I broke that the first time, and then it was like, oh, give me more, give me more. This is what's possible.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Ah, this is so amazing. I love the idea. So curiosity was the vehicle for you. So you mentioned the fascination of reading this book and then being like, first of all, your perspective was opened to what was possible. So in this book, can you share very briefly what it is that the premise of the book is built on?
Yeah, basically the author, Christopher McDougall, if I'm saying his name right, he was introduced like into this ultra marathons, and basically there's a tribe in Mexico. I'm gonna probably butcher their name, Taramahu, and they run. Like they don't have cars, they just run everywhere, miles and miles and miles, like ultras basically. So he found this tribe. He got curious about ultras. This was like back in the day of ultras when they were like nobody even knew what they were and were doing them. And he found one of the greatest like elite ultra marathon runners and some other folks, and they basically went down to do an ultra marathon, himself included. He had never done one before. He was like a newbie too. So he takes you on his journey of learning to train for this ultra, of elite ultra marathon athletes, what that looks like, of this tribe, how they do it, and how possible it is for them. And then they all go run the race essentially at the end of the book, and you and see what happens there. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. That is the first and most important step is the awareness. So you became aware of this thing called ultras, and all of a sudden this curiosity was the vehicle that got you to this place of, if they can do it, I wonder if I can do it. And what would that look like for myself? And then you use tools like community, right? So you had your running group that supported you. But also it wasn't just an overnight magical shift. I was still smoking and drinking and like doing my thing while I was identifying who am I really on this journey of becoming the truest version of yourself, right? Now, tell me about, I love that you mentioned the first win because the first win is such a powerful tool because when you identify, is it possible for me to do this? And then you start this journey, there's that part of you that's, but what if you don't do it? And what does that mean? And so the first win I know with people I work with is massive because they feel that magic and they're like, this is amazing. And how do I get more of that? So tell me, like, what was going on internally for you? What did your first win look like? And how did it fuel that mission moving forward?
Yeah, totally. I love this. It's been a fun story. And I want to even point out here too, because like my second thing, other than like a compelling vision and goal truly, is basically what we're about to discuss to a degree here is get started. I was still smoking and drinking, and I was doing the other things and going closer to my vision and compelling goal that way. So I did start just running. I remember getting like a couple other books. There was so few at that time around ultra running. I remember joining the FUR, it's the Florida Ultra Runners group. I searched out another group that wasn't just marathon running, the runners I was with. I got curious and resourceful to how do I freaking do this? And I started going for the runs, and then I would run and then I'd be like, that one fucking sucked. I need to drink more water and eat more fuel. Okay, check. I'll do that next time. So it absolute like you have to just get started. And so my first race was the Keats 50 miler. It took me 12 hours to finish that. I thought I might finish it in 9 hours was like my goal. 3 hours later, y'all. So like I hung in there. And this first race, and I want to say one other thing that really helped me. I actually volunteered as a aid station for an ultra marathon. So they have aid stations all along the way, generally every 5 to 7 to 10 miles, where you can refill your water, get some food. Like you actually have to eat real food and things along these races. So I manned an aid station, me and my friends, for an entire day for a race, which was super helpful. I learned a lot of things in that race that helped me prepare for my race day. So just like all the things, I was really like committed to figuring it out. And I still failed so much that first race. So again, Keys in May, very hot. Okay. So we started at, I think it was Marathon Key, the halfway through, and then we ran to Key West. And the first, we started at, I think it was like 10 a.m. So it's already hot out. And I barely brought any water. And the first, I didn't even know, like the first leg of the race was over this 7 mile bridge. So I wasn't going to be able to get to my crew or to any water for 7 miles. And I had this rinky dink water thing and no fuel. I was learning. So I get over this bridge at mile 7 and I'm already dehydrated. Like I could not even barely eat anything. And you're supposed to be eating something now, I know, like every 15 to 30 minutes, maybe 45 if you're stretching it, because obviously I'm gonna be running for hours.
Right.
So I was already dehydrated. I couldn't fucking eat anything when I crossed that bridge. Not a good start. Okay. And then, so I keep going though. And then we hit, I think it was at that 10 mile or 20 mile aid station. And somebody had this fuel, it's called Perpetuum, and it's basically like liquid food, liquid fuel. So it's got lots of calories and it's got lots of protein in it. And I tried it and it was good. And they were like, here, you can mix up a whole gallon and keep and go with this. I was like, amen, thank you. Because I could drink it. I couldn't
Hmm.
eat food. So I got that. That gave me fuel. And I was like, okay, I started to feel a little bit better. And essentially, I just there was many ups and downs throughout this entire race. I remember it's called like the ultra shuffle. You get to a point where you're like basically like walking at points and you want to quit. I wanted to quit for sure. I think I can remember it was getting dark out and I hadn't hit my 9 hour goal and I'm still going. I'm tired AF, been awake since 6 a.m. Like but you just I kept going and I have more memories of my 100 mile race of like thoughts because those are more fresh, but I just remember crossing that finish line, but there was many ups and downs and that's like in an ultra that's the beauty of it. You get a second wind, a third wind, a fourth wind. You think you can't go on and you do. You dig deeper mentally and physically to be able to cross that finish line 12 hours later.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So many great nuggets in there that I just want to highlight for the listener. So, first is just get started, literally, right? Like, you're not going to be successful if you don't start. And that is oftentimes what self-doubt does. And I think for a lot of folks that have a dream that are like, oh, and I want to be like Samantha, but I don't know how to get there. You just heard her say she wasn't educated on the ultra process, right? She was dehydrated by the time she got to that first checkpoint and she was learning as she went. So action brings clarity is a big phrase that we use in my practice, especially in the very beginning, right? You just start somewhere, you figure it out. And the funny thing is everybody who I work with and people who listen to this podcast, they're get shit done people, right? They'll get shit done for everybody else's mission, but for their mission, they don't think they're worthy enough to make the time or the space or invest that type of energy and thought into something that brings their heart a lot of joy. So the fact that we're just getting started, we're learning as we go. The dig deeper part, and I'm sure that a lot of that has to do with being present. I know, okay, I'm not an ultra runner. I ran a couple of half marathons. I wanted to run a marathon during it was before the pandemic. The pandemic happened. And I was like, whatever, they were doing all the virtual races at the time. So I did the first half marathon. And honestly, I never did the full because I think, much to your point, I was curious what my body was capable of. And I had never run more than 5 miles when I started training this thing. So the fact that I made it to a half, I was like, oh, I know I would crush a full. It's weird that it took me running more than 5 miles to realize that I can literally do anything. If I can do a half, I can do anything. But for you, I'm sure it was very similar. When it gets really hard, you might have to say things to yourself, just take one more step. Just like Just from here to that pole. That was the dialogue I was using in my head. How about you? What did that look like actually, like the literal monologue? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, usually it was like for most of the races, it's like the next aid station because that was like where I would see people and get alive again. I'm a like people person. So like seeing other people when you're by yourself running, or especially in the trail races when I started doing those, and you could literally be by yourself for like hours potentially. So getting to that next aid station, honestly too, I there's multiple races like that I've had a friend, essentially we run it together. And I realized this over my journey of running ultras that I'm a people, I like to be with people. So when I started doing loop races, it was like then you don't get lost for hours and not see anybody. I was like, oh, this is my jam. This now I'm gonna do loop races. So like even when I found my first 100-mile race, it was a loop race. And some people think that's crazy. It was like a less than 3-mile loop. And I don't even know how, whatever many loops that is to go 100 miles.
A lot.
Um, but I loved it because I was never by myself. So that was a tool. It's like I had awareness around how do I thrive in these races. So I was like, I love people. I want to be talking because talking distracts me from the pain in my feet or how long I've been going. We could probably talk on this podcast and make a 5-hour podcast and literally run. It was like ultras are like running with friends, I say. It's
Yes.
like when you sit down and have coffee with a girlfriend and you could sit forever. It's like the same thing in an ultra. So that was how I mentally, I didn't, because if I got by myself, oh, those negative, like quitty thoughts started coming in. So I think so being with people for sure helped me and I think would help all of us. Music distracted me. I would turn on some really like sometimes I listened to song over and over, something that was hype. I listened to podcasts. So I was feeling, I call it mind fuel. I was filling my brain so it could not go down the shit show road of thoughts. And then I would think intentional thoughts. And I still do that to this day. We're coaches, right? And like, I would literally say to myself things like, no, you've got this. Keep going. You've got this.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Having mantras, like
Yeah.
those thoughts that I could cling to when it got really hard.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so funny you're bringing this up because I literally was thinking the other day, like, I used to have very intrusive thoughts about my value that were not good. And doing what you're talking about, I've now shifted my brain to where it's feeding more of those mantras. And I still remember when I started noticing the involuntary parts of my brain doing that, where the thought would just pop up where it's, you really crushed that, or like, you're worth more than what you're allowing for yourself. Or, and I'm like, who said that? Like, where is that? That was me. Oh my gosh. So I'm curious for you if you started your journey at any point where when it came to shifting that mindset where you let go of the unhelpful thoughts, did you ever struggle with getting to that really life-giving kind of mantra-y place where it was automatic?
Yeah, yeah, I feel like for sure. I feel like this is, I always think of like mindset and our thoughts. It's just like working out. It's like you've got to flex that muscle every day, basically. Most
Mm,
be flexing our mindset muscle and our thought muscle. And yeah, so I think of it overall like that. Yeah, so I definitely had those gaps, but then I just use the tools.
yes.
And the way I think about it, and I even share this with my clients, is like whenever like there's a goal, it's like you want to create a toolbox full of tools. Just like we have a wrench, a screwdriver, a hammer, a tape measure, like all of those are tools in your toolbox. When you need them, they are there. Do we use a tape measure every day? No. But so I would pull out those tools when like my 100-mile race at mile 85 is when I was just like, I'm done. Like I did not want to get back up. And and so I had crew around me. I had support there that literally helped me like get back up and keep going. I had music. I had my thoughts that I was changing my thoughts, all of that in my toolbox prepared, knowing shit was going to fail and fall down. And I was going to. So I think even that is set yourself up for success because our
Mm,
brains are going to brain, life is going to life. So you need to have the toolbox full of tools you can pull out every single day to pull yourself out of it. And it's also like working out in that way. The more you flex that muscle and do that, the easier I bounce back. I am onto myself every fucking day. If my thoughts start to go down there, I'm like, oh no, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Like,
Yes.
just like in the beginning, when you first work out, that first run, that first lift, you're like sore. It doesn't really feel energizing. Like it might not feel the best. But after 4 weeks of doing that and then years of doing that, you build that muscle so strong. I think it's like that. You have to have that toolbox and you have to start building it. And now I'm a fucking pro at my mindset and my brain.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I share that tool with my clients that do work out, right? Because they'll try stuff, it works for a while, and then the brain naturally, it's wired to go back to its old patterns, right? And so when we get them out of that old mindset, then that self-judgment comes in a lot. And I tell them it's like going to the gym. You're really good and adept at going to the gym. Is it hard every time you go? Yeah. But you can see the numbers going up on those weights that you're lifting. And that's why having some type of performance indicating kind of thing that you can measure is so helpful in determining like, am I actually improving? Because especially if you're a high achiever, your brain will naturally go to, this is hard. I don't feel like I'm making any progress. But having something in place where you can be like, oh my gosh, actually, 4 weeks ago, I could only run a mile and now I can run 2 miles or whatever it might be. Oh, okay. I could honestly talk to you for 5 hours about this, but I want to pivot to 40 something year old mom of two with abs. This is the quintessential struggle that most women have these days, which is I want to have all the things. I want to look hot. And they even are aware that I don't need to look hot for other people. I want to look hot for me. But they still struggle with like work and kids and all these other competing priorities make them put their wellness last. So how the hell did you do this like for you?
Yeah. Again, I do want to start with the compelling vision part because I never, even when I had my babies and I lost the weight, like really seamlessly, never counting calories, never counting macros, never forcing myself to work out 60 minutes, 5 days a week. Like I had a goal to do a race. I never said I wanted to lose weight. Like that was, and I've never even said, oh, I'm gonna get abs at 40. Like that was not even my vision was just being an athlete and racing. And so I do like to offer that, like, I think sometimes just women, everybody, like we get caught up in the fucking weight loss goal. And I get it. We want to measure things and you want to have something to look forward to. But for so many, that is a ball and chain tied to dieting, tied to the scale and the number on the scale, instead of living your fucking life. So I have lived my life, and because I'm so energized and alive to do the races that bring me such purpose and that are so compelling. And because I have my business too, that is actually, I love it. I love doing my business. I love the things. Like it's so purposeful.
Yeah,
I'm so busy fucking living my life. I can't worry about logging all day and my weight and all. So
totally.
I really like to offer to let go of the weight loss being the focus and the goal,
Hmm.
food and the work and this pressure we put on ourselves to do that and focus
Yeah.
on living your life.
Yes.
That is a piece of what's been a part of my formula is like I'm not focused on being a certain weight. I was in high school. In fact, I'm now, what am I now? Almost 40 pounds heavier than I was in high school with abs. So ladies, hear that. Like we do not have to get back to our high school weight, okay? So it's like living life has and having such purpose. And here's what I think too is that I really feel like having purpose beyond being a mama and my busy life, like because I have kids, because I work, because I'm an athlete, which means I'm committed to workouts and training. I think it's a gift and a secret sauce. If people could change their perception, most people are like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much to do. And their thoughts around all the things is like heavy. It's like, I don't have any time. How am I ever going to get this done? Or they don't aren't even doing the workouts and stuff. And I think of it as because my life is so full and beautiful and I'm so purposeful, I'm potent as fuck with my time. Like, I ain't
Oh
got
my
time.
gosh.
Like, I say no a lot more than I say yes. I barely drink. I barely go out. Like, I know my priorities and what I want. And because of that, I don't waste time. I don't
Oh my
waste my
gosh.
days. And I think that is really what I see a lot is where people are like, people pleasing, not setting boundaries, not being clear as fuck about their life and their goals. They're just kind of like, I gotta, like my husband or this or that, or I can't because my work and this.
Right.
And I'm here and I'm like, no, this is what I will be willing to do. You can either come and play my game or not, but I will not change my boundaries for you or for work or for things. So I think that's another piece of it, of how I've created the results.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm like, I could like literally share some of the like my and workout wise too. It's like I honestly, even training for my 100-mile race, on average, I was running 4 days a week. Some days maybe five. Yes, I did a long run on the weekend, but do you guys hear? I'm not, most 100-mile ultra marathon racers are probably, if they're single and they don't have kids and all the things, they could be out there injuring themselves running 50 to 100 miles a week. I didn't have that time. And nor was I willing to drop off certain things. So, like, you can do a lot more than you think. If I was able to run first place female at my 100-mile race on 4 days a week, and I did do two strength and conditioning workouts twice a week for 30 minutes. But if I was able to do that, for sure you can get your fucking hot as fuck body. My lifting, I started with 3 days a week transitioning, and I dropped slowly, started to drop the running, and now I lift 4 days a week and walk a shit ton.
Yes.
My lifts are like an hour. That's it. I'm not
Yes.
buck wild crazy doing 5, 6 days a week of an hour and all this. So really like clarity gives you potent and simplicity is how I get the results. And I'll share one last thing. I know you're probably dying and have questions to pop open. The last thing I'll share about creating this, I was just on a coaching call actually with a client. We were talking about this, where like having it all does not mean everything is equal. I do not, I'm not a stay-at-home mom level mom. No, 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 no. I do not do that. I do not want to do that. I do not desire to do that. I spend quality time with my boys when I have that time. Okay. And then and then my workouts are pretty like up there for that, my business, but I don't go out. I don't watch Netflix a ton. I actually rarely watch TV. My social time is like my gym time. So like certain things in my life are not that high. And so it's like when you look at it all, you guys can't see me, but I'm like it's like a bar graph chart. You get to decide where that lies. Now, some seasons it may change, right? If I was in a training season, my workouts and time for that would be higher versus when I'm in a maintenance season, then it's just that on average, right? But I just think too, it's like when people to even say have it all, you've got to know that doesn't mean every area of life is equal. Like that,
Yes.
we have to decide, okay, maybe it's a date night every other week. Okay, maybe that's one day a week I'm full on in my business and one day I'm full on with my boys. But it's not an equal. You have to decide what you want that all to look like.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. And yes, so once again, so much to unpack here. But I want to attach some metrics for a second, just only for the logic exercise for my listener, right? Because you and I are talking about there's a feeling we're ultimately chasing, right? And that feeling is what does success look like for me? Not for you, not for Joe Blow over here, but this whole process for you has been about defining and then creating what your best life looks like. And there's a lot of trial and error in that. And so you mentioned macros and calorie counting, which I love macros. And much like you with my wellness journey, it's been a lot of trial and error. Like intermittent fasting did not work for me. All kinds of other like little, I've never been a dieter, but the shticks never quite worked until I found macros. So can you real quick explain what macros are to somebody who isn't familiar with that?
Yeah, macros are basically like your macronutrients. So protein, carbs, fat, and you have even micronutrients. But so your macronutrients are those big, basically what we're eating and fueling ourselves with, fat, protein, and carbohydrates.
Yes, I love that. So everybody has a unique mix, right, of what works for them based on what their training goals and stuff are. And so I ended up hiring a macros coach some time ago. And what you're talking about with the mindsets, I just want to highlight some examples of what it is that you're talking about and how what you're addressing and sharing helped me. The old mindset was on more fat loss and focusing on the number on the scale. But then when we talk about macros, so I like a game, right? I like to see what I can fit into what. So I think of macros as food Tetris. So it literally is like I have this number of fat, carbs, and protein, and how am I going to Tetris all that into delicious foods? Because tasty food is important to me. To some people, it's not important, but I like that game of creating delicious meals that are very macro friendly for me. And so the idea that I could create healthy, nutritious meals and still have room in my macros for a sweet treat at the end of the day. And I'm not talking about, let me have some sad, pathetic, like watery, sugar-free popsicle. And I'm not judging if that's your thing, like that's cool. But for me, like sometimes I would have enough in my macros for a chocolate brownie that
Mhm.
had some like whipped cream on it. And the joy of, oh my gosh, I can enjoy this because the success that I'm creating is I loved my body. And for me, my mindset had to shift to where I'm like, I have to take care of the base and the foundation because that supports all the work that I do. But joy is a very important value for me as well. So the fact that I was like, no, I'm going to build in some food joy at the same time and still create the wellness goals. Now, it doesn't actually have anything to do with what's on the scale, but how I feel day to day, right? How my body is supporting me energetically in achieving the life that I want. So, in terms of weaving all that into having it all does not make everything equal, right? So, like, I decided to your point, success wise, success to me was I'm an athlete. I'm a loving mom. I'm going to create a career that makes me pinch myself every morning that I get to do this. And that means I have to let go of a lot of old beliefs and ideas that the world gives me on what success looks like. So, what do you think is the biggest thought that your clients have to let go of in order to really create that incredible hot as fuck body?
Ooh, that's a great question. And the thought to let go of to create the hottest fuck body. I guess my first thought that's coming up is really you've got to believe first and foremost that you can do it.
Oh,
I think first and foremost, that's why you don't take the steps and start, is if you don't believe you
mm,
can even do it. And this feels like a rampant thing just in general, but for sure with their bodies. And I get it, y'all. I do get it. I work with clients all the time where it's like, and I coach too, working with people to quit smoking and to reduce their drinking. And people who've been smoking their whole life. I smoked for 10 years. Like that, it's the belief. It like that. You don't make the call. You don't join the gym, or you're in one toe in, one toe out with the dieting and that. And I because for years, I know it. I know there's so many women out there that have tried the diets, tried to lose weight, quote unquote, like that whole story, and it's not worked for them. And so I would really offer the first thing you have to do is believe as fuck that what you want is available to you 1,000%. You see an example in me. You get to see an example in Alani. You get to see an example all around you. We can look. I follow this fabulous woman. She's 51 now on Instagram, ripped AF. Like she looks fabulous, but she didn't start her workout journey until a couple years ago. Or maybe it's 4 years
wow.
now, like late 40s. And now people are like, no, 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 you are not 51. So it is so possible, whether you have 4 kids, 2 kids, work, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just want everyone to know it's possible. And you have to just start believing. And that's
Mm,
like bridging the gap too, right? Like, I'm not saying you go out today and you're going to be like, I am going to get my hot as fuck body. Like, I'm hot as fuck. Maybe you can't believe that yet. So we call this like bridging thoughts, bridging the thought gap. So it's like maybe you can start with believing I can do this. I could figure this out. It is possible for me to get my hot as fuck body. Maybe those are the thoughts you start with. So then you start taking some action, just getting to a gym or walking or working out or eating a little bit healthier. But yes, I feel like you've got to start with belief.
Oh my gosh. And that totally, guys, I swear I did not plant that answer because the core of my work is that really it comes down to worthiness. Do you think that you're worthy of creating the life that you want? And that's exactly what you said is, do I think I'm worthy and do I believe it's possible for me? I can believe it's possible for everybody else, but do I believe it's possible for me? And you're right, like when you're in victim and scarcity mindset, biologically your body and your brain are primed to suck up all the energy that you have in surviving, right? So creativity gets shut down because you're trying to survive. And so a lot of people I engage with feel frustrated that they're like, I can't imagine that possibility for myself. And I'm like, and that's okay. The bridging thoughts are so powerful in saying, I can't now, but I will one day. I haven't gotten there yet. And it just plants that seed of, but I will. And then your body starts to do its thing where it's, how would we do that? And like the curiosity starts working itself out. And then before you know it, you've taken action. And it's so funny, like seeing people, because it's all in the behaviors, right? As soon as you have that first understanding of, I am worthy, or even if you're like, I don't think I'm worthy now, but I believe one day I will, they start behaving differently. They start immediately coming up with solutions where it's I can go for a walk for 5 minutes, or I can put my shoes on, or I can play with my kid outside for a couple minutes, whatever it might look like. But it all comes down to, do you love yourself like 1% as much as you love everybody else? And that's all we're talking about here at the end of the day is just turning some of that love on yourself and seeing yourself as worthy. Not to mention the fact that I also want to highlight what you're describing actually does not have anything to do with effort. And that's something that in Western society, we do put a lot of emphasis on, where it's like you have to work your ass off to get what you want. And there is something to be said about hard work and discipline, but the listener of this podcast does not have a problem with hard work. And the idea that something could come easily to them is it's not possible. But here Samantha is telling you it all starts with a thought. It doesn't start with you going and doing a 2 hour workout. It starts with you deciding, you reading a book called Born to Run, and then all of a sudden, like your whole world shifts. Nothing actually changed except for your internal monologue. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And I could seriously talk to you for forever and ever. I do want to take a little bit of time at the end to talk about where people can find you. But before we do that, what is the final thing that you would like the listener to walk away with?
Mm. Okay, I want to think on that one. I want to just share this too from what you just said and where we were at with the belief is like there's a couple other things I just want to add other than the bridging thoughts is like also find evidence. Like me, a lot like the woman I found at 51 who's ripped, find evidence that it is possible for you so you can start to see. I think that's so important. Surround yourself with go find the group, get into the group running, go to the workout place, talk to some people there, open your mouth, make friends. I met a friend last year at the gym when I was first starting really like I really do think I want to build my glutes kind of a journey. And she was just like, she was so strong. She was like doing a pull-up with a weighted like 45-pound plate. And I was like, dude, this girl is baller AF. And it looked like she was doing some glute workouts that looked familiar from a program I'd done. And I went up and approached her. And I said, hi. Like I felt whatever, but I was like, my name's Samantha. Hey. And we are now besties a year later.
Ah,
So find the support in the people, like, and all the support, the more the merrier in all the ways. So you stay aligned on your path and in belief, because she's then talking belief into me. Fuck yeah, you can grow your glutes. Yeah, let's go. I hired a coach, somebody who gave me also belief every single week. Guess what? When I was feeling shitty or got down on myself or didn't see my win, she was like, whoa, 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 sis, like come back up to earth here. So she brought me back up every single week if I was down. So the power of all of those things, like when you really need support with the belief in going after your goals and what you want, like it's really important to have that. And then the last thing I will just say that came to me on that was like, I've always had some kind of like for my glutes was like, I didn't just say, I want to grow my glutes. I didn't just say, I want to lift, I want to be strong. I said, I want to double the size of my ass. And this was like my thought that every day I was literally thinking, I was imagining it. I picked out swimsuits that I was going to wear. I literally one day in the gym was like, I can't squeeze through things anymore. I can't squeeze through chairs and like tables anymore. My ass is so big, I cannot squeeze through things. But I had that one anchoring thought of my vision. My ass is double the size. When I did ultra marathons, it was I'm a top placing female ultra marathon athlete. I'm a top placing. Like I said that to myself over and over. I didn't just say, I want to run 100. I want to run a race. I was like, no, I'm going to ball out. So maybe not everybody has that. I know, hot AF. We're a little spicy over here, okay? Maybe not everyone has that, but find whatever that is for you to anchor in on what you want every single day. That's exciting, right? It wasn't like I'm just gonna get strong. I'm gonna go run an ultra. I was like, I'm gonna be the best fucking bitch out here.
That's right.
That excited me. So I wanted to just share those as some more tools to get in that belief. And as far as like last thing, I just really go for it. Sis, like your dreams, what you want, I swear to you, if it is on you, here's what I say. If it is on your heart and head, gives me goosebumps. If it is on your heart and head, it is possible. It would not be given to you. You would not have received that if it wasn't meant for you. So start, start. It was meant for you.
Ah, I just got goosebumps hearing you say that because I totally believe that as well. I don't think those desires are there on accident. There's a reason. And I always say the universe, God, whatever it like you define that thing to be, it's either going to drag you by the hair into your destiny or you can go willingly. And so here we have Samantha doing it willingly and because she knows that she's worthy and powerful and she can create the life of thriving that she knows she deserves. Oh my gosh, Samantha, this has been such a treat. And guys, you're going to want to connect with her, I know, after this. So, Instagram, she's Samantha A. Nivens. She's got the Hot AF podcast and a YouTube channel, Hot AF Samantha Nivens. We're going to post it in the show notes so that you guys can connect with her in that way. So, guys, thank you so much for joining, Samantha. This was such a treat. Thank you. You are incredible, and I am so excited we got to connect, and I look forward to supporting you. But guys, if you're looking for more resources, check out my life purpose exercise freebie on the website mightysparrowcoaching.com. I have video prompts to help guide you, or you can check out my best-selling book, The Least of Us: How Your Imposter Syndrome Points to Your Greatest Power. So until next time, humble warriors, please remember the world needs who you were made to be. Thank you for joining us today on this journey to discover how you can harness your imposter to work for you. Love you guys. If you enjoyed this episode and would like some help overcoming your imposter syndrome, check out the free life purpose exercise on my website and subscribe to my blog. If you already know what your life purpose is and are ready to crush or harness your imposter syndrome, then you're going to love my best-selling book, The Least of Us: How Your Weakness Points to Your Greatest Power, available on Amazon and all major book retailers. Or you can hit me up at alani@mightysparrowcoaching.com to discuss private coaching or corporate and government training. That's ALANI@mightysparrowcoaching.com. Listen, there's only ever been one you, and there will only ever be one you. And you have a specific gift to give that the world desperately needs. Don't let your self-doubt be the thing preventing you from living your most joyful and impactful life. Until next time, I'm always cheering you on.